Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source of superhero movie and television discussion in the multiverse. My name is Adam Portrais, and I'm joined by sweet chance of Kovacs from the internet.
My name is Storm.
And of course, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and how do 50-foot-tall robots keep sneaking up on people?
Oh, they are the sneakiest of sneakies, those giant sentinels, and that's what we're talking about today, everybody. It is Patreon time. That's right. Patreon.com/HMP is where everyone goes. And every single month, those people that support us over at Patreon.com/HMP, they get to vote on what we watched. And pretty handedly, as you might imagine, X-Men the Animated Series won out. Who'd have thunk it?
Of course.
So we'll be reviewing the first 2 episodes of the X-Men the Animated Series, all available now on Disney+. And I will say this, it's at least better quality than some of the other cartoons that they've got on there as far as quality of presentation. And I guess we'll talk about that later. But again, we'd like to thank everybody who voted and supports us over at Patreon.com/HMP. Those fine people get the pre-show. Pre-show this week, pretty amazing, guys. We had a 4th person in for the Dinger Zone, which doesn't really happen. And let's just say this, songs were sung. So if you want to see what that is, head on over to Patreon.com/HMP and join up today and help keep this show flowing, baby. We really appreciate that, and we appreciate all of you that go out there and give us a 5-star review on iTunes, a.k.a. a humdinger.
Humdinger.
Been a while since we've gotten one of those, guys. Just come on, throw another one our way. We really like it. So let's get into it, boys. This is the X-Men the Animated Series. Because my computer was trying to update and do all the crap today, I didn't get time to edit a trailer, but I did write words down on the tablet. So I'll read those off in the kind of trailer voice type thing. Let me see if I can do this. Let's do this. 2, 3. Oh, wait, hold on. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. There it is. Okay. I just need a little bit of echo added there. Makes things. It's ambience. Here it is. The year is 1992. CDs are taking over cassettes. Aladdin, Batman Returns, and Home Alone 2 were tops at the box office. And the Fox Kids Network was killing it with amazing stuff like Batman the Animated Series, Tiny Toon Adventures, Super Dave, Daredevil for Hire, and of course, X-Men. But does this beloved animated series hold up, or is it just silly kid stuff that no one knows any better? X-Men, the Animated Series. It's no Eek the Cat. All right, so that's the best I got for a trailer.
That works, man. I like it.
Not too shabby.
In fact, I respect the effort of writing it out. You did the hard part.
I did the hard part, but not as hard as not as hard as this part.
It's time for Bruce's Comic Book Connection.
We have covered a plethora of X-Men topics on this show. Bruce, what's the angle this week?
Jubilation Lee, perhaps better known by the superhero top secret and very creative code name of Jubilee, was created by Chris Claremont and Mark Silvestri in 1989. She debuted in the Uncanny X-Men number 244 and dazzled people with her brilliant and totally useful ability to make sparkly lights. I must confess that at age 15, I really liked Jubilee. And not because of her sort of goofy powers, but because she was a 15-year-old lady and had a nice smile. Also, 15-year-old me would have pointed out that her sparkly lights were actually articulate quasi-animate transitory plasmoids, but present-day me is perfectly fine with calling them sparkly lights. She did have a really cool yellow trench coat that I can tell you from experience was never offered for purchase in the Sears catalog, and probably for the better, because young Bruce would have likely been the subject of much scorn and ridicule had he gotten one for Christmas like he wanted. And by young Bruce, I mean like 20 years old. Now, 15-year-old Bruce would not have had the confidence to try and pull off a yellow women's trench coat. So, that's why I had to wait till I was 20.
Well, Bruce in his 40s.
15-year-old Bruce also liked the Daisy Duke-style denim short-leg pants that Jubilee sported, but had the good sense to wear those as rarely as possible. Now, in the animated show, we meet Jubilee after she's already living with her foster parents, but her life was very bright, pun fully intended, prior to that. She was the daughter of Chinese immigrants and a very talented gymnast, showing so much promise that people thought her a solid candidate for the Olympics. Sadly, everything changed for young Jubilation when her parents were murdered by a couple of hitmen. In the comics, rather than going to a home for foundlings, she runs away and does the most 80s thing ever and decides to live in a mall. Also, not just any mall, but the Hollywood Mall. Now, the first time I went to Washington, D.C., I got very excited when I heard we were going to the mall. And I was very disappointed when I arrived, and it was just a big yard with a pool you weren't even allowed to swim in. But back to Jubilee. While living in the mall, she had to steal food to survive, getting by, I imagine, on corn dog and a stick and orange Julius for months. She first discovered her mutant power to generate blinding and explosive energy blasts while running away from mall security. And this scenario is much more entertaining if you picture Paul Blart on a Segway as part of the equation. But of course, those things didn't exist in the 80s. Now, not a group to be taken lightly, the mall security hired the M Squad, a group of highly violent and unethical mutant hunters to eliminate Jubilee as something that existed in the mall. Fortunately for Jubilee, she was rescued by the prominent X-women Dazzler, Psylocke, Rogue, and Storm. Curious about the women, she tracks them to the portal leading to their base back in the Outback and steps through it. And yes, this was a period when the X-Men headquarters were moved to Australia for very important reasons that I can't remember.
Sales.
Now, once in the X-Men base, Jubilee falls back to her old reliable methods and hides, steals food, and even steals clothes to make a makeshift costume for herself. And then Jubilee steps out of the shadows and into the superhero spotlight when she rescues Wolverine from the Reavers. Jubilee then goes on to team up for Wolverine for many of his missions around the world, continuing his totally not creepy habit of teaming up with young girls, beginning with Kitty Pryde and later continuing with X-23. Jubilee would have become a founding member, or she would become a founding member of the team Generation X. So take that, boomers and millennials. We've got our own team of mutants, and they were immortalized in the classic made-for-television movie broadcast on Fox to universal praise.
That's what it was.
Now, after Generation X disbanded, Jubilee moved to Los Angeles to pursue an acting career. She's cast in nothing but stereotypical Asian roles. And after her agent tries to seduce her, she hits him with a powerful energy blast. #MeToo. Now, on M Day, when Scarlet Witch uttered the phrase, "No more mutants," Jubilee lost her powers. And what is a young mutant to do when she no longer has her powers? Well, she gets a pair of gauntlets similar to those that Chase Stein referred to as Fistigons. Then she calls herself Wanda and becomes second in command of the New Warriors. Her dependence on technology for superpowers is short-lived when Jubilee is infected by a bioengineered virus delivered via vampire suicide bomber. She becomes a vampire, but Wolverine, in a totally non-creepy way, feeds her some of his blood, and she becomes a good guy vampire. She also gets bitten by a vampire named Xeris, who happens to be the son of Dracula, and then gets to be like a triple secret extra strong vampire. Blade wants to kill her, but Wolverine says something like, "Not on your life, bub," and he probably flashed his claws in a menacing manner, all totally non-creepy because this isn't Twilight after all. And Jubilee later finds a baby named Shogo. Of course, the adoption laws in the Marvel Universe are basically finders keepers, so Jubilee keeps the baby, who will someday become the mutant Sentinel X. So basically, the whole point of this comic book connection is that I want everyone watching the 92 X-Men cartoon to know that someday Jubilee becomes a vampire.
It's a story, as they say, a tale as old as time.
A young girl lives in mall, becomes vampire.
Oh, if I had a nickel for every time it was put together. But yes, this was in 1992 on Fox Television. They did it on Saturday mornings and sometimes a lot during the week and stuff as well. They were kind of all over the place. It was a Fox Attitude era. They didn't care.
Yeah, 92, man. I remember. Did you guys check this out like right off the bat, or were you unaware at first?
For me, I am, 1990, I am 10 years old, so I am all on this so hardcore, it's unbelievable.
How about you, Sean? Was this one of those things you were angry because it didn't come out sooner?
92, man, I'm not watching cartoons in 92. I wasn't even aware that this was a thing, like for most people where they think it's great. Until like probably about 10 years ago. Yeah. Where like I kept hearing from people of a certain age, nerds of a certain age, like, "Oh man, but that 90s X-Men cartoon, like that was the stuff." And so, I was like, oh, well, that makes sense because they're probably like little kids when this came out. And so, like, a lot of people, I understand that this is why a lot of people of a certain age, like Gambit and Jubilee and Rogue, is all from this cartoon.
Now, if I remember this correctly, this like debuted, or at least the first time I saw it was on Halloween Day. And I can remember because in 1992, I went back to the town where my mom lives because I thought, hey, I'm going to go trick-or-treating with my old friends on Halloween. And I can still remember in my bedroom on the little 13-inch TV I had, turning on the TV and seeing this come on without having any idea that this thing was on. And it really bugged me because about 1985, 1986, I was at my peak X-Men fandom, maybe carried it through to 87. And if this cartoon had come on then, I would have been in heaven. But even though I was a college freshman going home to trick or treat, I still felt like it came around too late for me to fully enjoy it.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no, I wasn't watching this during the time when it came out. And how long was the run for this? 5 years?
5 seasons. Yeah.
That I don't know. Okay. But were they 5 seasons spread out over 5 years, like typical seasons?
And it's a little bit different. And like the 5th season is like pretty short comparatively, to a lot of like where, 25 is what normally is the big giant, episode ask when in animation.
Yeah, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original cartoon, season 1 was 5 episodes, and then season 2 came out, in the same year as season 1 because it was really just like a test run miniseries commercial for the toys. And I didn't know if this had like a little 5-parter to see if people liked it or if they went straight to a full season right off the bat.
Yeah, it feels like it was. I mean, the first season's kind of short, last season's kind of short, and I think I mostly watched up until probably mid-season 4 when I kind of look at there may be a couple episodes in there I'm sure that I caught at some point or another during reruns and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, it was a big thing, and especially if you were around my age, this is what you loved. It was the thing that was on. It was like I said, between this and Batman the Animated Series, and actually and then the Spider-Man animated series in the 90s too. It was just like it was for superhero animation what all of our superhero live action stuff is now. It's just like, oh, I can't believe what an embarrassment of riches 3 animated programs were.
And well, I can't speak for Spider-Man, but the Batman stuff is really great. So I mean, I'm just going to come out and say it. So Batman is really good. I don't know anything about Spider-Man. This is garbage. Like this cartoon, I realize that this is people's like most beloved thing in the world. Watch it with an eye for quality. The voice talent is all crap. The animation is not great, and the stories are boring. So I don't know what else to say about this thing. Like this is straight up trash, and the characters like Gambit and Jubilee, like who gives a crap?
Well, there are people that cared about the characters independently of the show here, but the thing that I like to point out, just sort of as a moment in time, in the mid '80s, Chris Claremont going strong on the X-Men. It was far and away the best-selling comic book out there. I mean, it outsold everything right there in those sweet mid-'80s. Sort of, I guess, closer to the tail end of Chris Claremont's time on X-Men, outselling Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, outselling all of them, the world's most popular comic book, and there was zero merchandising. And I never understood that. Like, this comic book is just way on top of everything else. Like mainstream media was covering how popular the X-Men were in like 87, 88. Yet there's no T-shirts, no figures, no lunchboxes, and no cartoon. And then it's like by the time they got around to making the cartoon in 92, that's right when comic books are going to undergo this huge change that really chased a lot of people off from comics for a while, the whole 90s shenanigans that happened. And I just feel like, man, even to this day, I feel like if they had gotten this cartoon on the air 4 years earlier, I think we'd be a little more forgiving of the quality. And also it would have been a time when people were super hungry for it. But from what I understand, it still did fine, even in 92.
I think overall, it's like the show is absolutely designed for people, 12 years and younger, really.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Just by watching it, you can tell that.
But the thing that was kind of neat at the time, though, and you got to think back, 1992, we were still treating a lot of children's programming as hey, let's just put this on. These dumb kids won't know no better. And at least it's not super representative in these 2 episodes, which are clearly were done as one episode, and they just kind of chopped it up because they literally the second one starts off right where the first one ends. Or at least maybe they were played back to back. I don't remember. But they took a lot of like kind of Claremont stories and idea lines and everything and put them right into the actual show, which was kind of impressive that they would do something that was so referential to the books and everything. Maybe not quite on point, obviously, but what are you going to do in 22 minutes? But when they brought this stuff in, it was just like, oh, it was a lot like Batman, and it didn't feel like they were treating it like it was a dumb kids show. You felt like, oh, it feels like this show is talking to me as if I am, a young adult as opposed to, an 8-year-old crybaby.
And I do feel like there was some kind of production battle going on between being just sort of a typical Fox Kids cartoon at the time and wanting to capture the same age group that was reading the comics, which was closer to 15 rather than 12. And they went out of their way to put a character death in this premiere episode to show, hey, this isn't Super Friends. This isn't Spider-Man and his amazing friends. This is like the comics where, of course, X-Men comics, you have a team with 300 members. It's easy to kill one every issue. But, a lot of death happens in the X-Men.
Nothing's been going on here. Can we wipe out one of these guys real quick? That'll make this story at least a little bit interesting.
There's one of these characters we've never actually heard anything about before. He's on this team. He's an important member of this team.
He's wearing a red shirt for some reason. We're not quite sure why.
Yeah, Morph. Let's talk about Morph. Do you guys want to talk about anything, like get into this?
Yes. What in the world is Morph? Where is I don't understand this character. You fill me in.
Morph was not a character from the comics, though he was based very much on a character called Changeling. Changeling was dead in the comics by the time this cartoon was made. DC had a character named Changeling that was still alive, so they didn't want to use the name Changeling. So they introduced the character Morph, who became popular enough that he was later introduced into the comics in the Age of Apocalypse. But yeah, this is a character that was brought in and was distanced enough from the comics that they knew it was safe to kill him. And also, technically, Beast is a guest star in this first episode.
And guest starring Beast.
Yeah. But yeah, Morph was brought in to be killed. And initially, the plan was for him to really be killed. But, spoiler, if people made it to season 2, he shows back up. The first thing I think when I'm seeing Morph isn't necessarily that he's the guy who's going to die. He screams traitor to me. Like I picture he's going to be the spy or the traitor, and I thought it was going to play out differently.
He does have a weird bad guy sense about him the second you see him, because he's morphing into the politician and to Jubilee, and how he knows how he can do Jubilee's voice is beyond me. He just saw her on television kind of mucking up some stuff, and he was like, yeah, I'll change into this girl, and oh, look, I know how to do her voice. I'm like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But he does seem very villainesque.
And any modern watcher is going to probably assume that it's Mystique disguised as some guy named Morph,
Oh, I wouldn't be shocked if that was a big giant thing later on down the line. Morph, Mystique. Which one is it?
But he did have also the villain laugh instead of a hero laugh. That little.
That was the part that made me that it would give me the idea that, oh, this guy might be a bad guy.
Does anyone else notice that Morph kind of has a cackle? That's not good.
But real death or fake death, I was just glad when he was off the show because I did not like his voice, his personality. Nothing about him said X-Men to me. And it's really, he's like the cousin Oliver here. I'm excited because they finally got a cartoon, and right off the bat, they're bringing in some fake X-Men to be part of the team.
Is there a reason why we've hired somebody onto our strike team named Evil Morph?
Exactly.
Nothing wrong with him. He's fine.
And my mind kept going to Morph from Orph, so that didn't help any either.
Sure, he creates a couple of trash can fires a week, but what superhero team doesn't have this kind of shenanigans going on? Am I right, everybody?
With some of the extremely well-known and popular characters, I'd say in '92, Wolverine was as far as like comic book members of the X-Men, probably the most identifiable member. Probably still is. I mean, even to this day. Not
in 92, though? In 92, he isn't.
I think he is, man. I think amongst the comic readers, Wolverine was our favorite.
But Wolverine doesn't become really, really popular until later, right? I mean, like there's a certain point where he does become everyone's favorite, but that's like, I don't want to say it's 92. I think it's later than that.
Because he was definitely the guy that was on the cover of the X-Men comics in 86, 87. Who do you think is an X-Men, especially the ones we see on screen, who do you think would be more recognizable to the public than Wolverine?
Well, you know, geez, man, I'm going to guess it's Cyclops and Professor X.
And Wolverine had a Secret Wars action figure that was out in like 85, 86.
You are right.
X-Men
you are right.
Figure. Anyway, the point is, none of us are going to say Jubilee is who you build the story around.
No. But that's
puzzled by that choice.
Obviously, that's to bring the kids.
But you're going to have the cipher to introduce people who are unfamiliar with the X-Men. I mean, that's the way to do it, is with the new kid.
And, you know, a few years later in the Fox movies, the live action movies, they would do that with Rogue. And I even think maybe Rogue would have worked better than Jubilee here. But I also liked it because to the folks who are familiar with the comics at the time, it told you, okay, we're not just going to go with, you know, the big recognizable guys. They're going to bring in some of these sort of second rate X-Men like Gambit and Jubilee, and they're going to show us that it's a big world. I mean, I liked it at the time, but I didn't expect that to be our point of view character from go. I would have thought even Kitty Pryde is like in the comics. They did that with Kitty Pryde a lot. So I could also see Kitty Pryde being in that Jubilee role, but they really wanted to ride closer to the more recent comics and not go back through the Silver Age and all that kind of stuff.
Well, and the thing is, though, I think Wolverine definitely was kind of at the top there. I mean, because I had to look because I was trying to remember the date here and everything. But X-Men Volume 2, Number 1, I mean, you got Jim Lee's introduction, or well, not introduction into X-Men, but his big foray of like, hey, you get your own title here with Chris Claremont and everything. And like that.
Are you talking about the issue that sold 8 million copies?
Yes, the issue that sold so many copies, it's not even worth the 1991 cover price anymore. That's how many issues they sold.
Yeah. At 8 million copies, that bad boy sold.
But, you know, that, and I think that was one of the big, you know, stepping stones for Wolverine. And by the time that this show comes out, we all love Wolverine because we've read those books. And that, I mean, it was, like I said, 8 million copies. What's a good selling comic dude these days, you know?
If you get 100,000, you're celebrating.
Exactly. That. It's nuts. So when Wolverine jumps on board and is doing all of his Wolverine stuff, and I gotta say, there's some elements to this show, and I'll grant some of them, you know, it's the stuff I grew up with when I was, you know, 11 years old.
You can be forgiven for this, Adam. Like this is a thing where, you know, you have so much nostalgia around, I would imagine, around the show. That, like, you know, I'm not gonna call you an idiot.
But I'm also willing to say that when I went back and watched this, it was, now granted, it wasn't as bad as the worst one that I ever had going back was the Beetlejuice animated show. I remember as a child loving that, and there's like 2 episodes on the Beetlejuice Blu-ray that came out, and I'm like, oh
on
man,
the DVD, yeah.
I was like, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to watch these episodes again and just be transformed back to my childhood. And I watch those episodes and I go, oh, were we just, you know, really, really stupid rock kids? We were just dumb. We were just completely idiots because there's nothing about this that says intelligence or, you know, interesting at all. At least these 2 episodes had a story. Some of these things had nothing. But, I mean, at the time, it felt like we kind of had a grown-up cartoon, more or less, especially ones that were going, didn't we read this in the comic books? Oh, my gosh, I can't believe they're putting this on screen. It was a wild time.
When was the last time you revisited this 92 X-Men, Adam? Have you rewatched them any recently?
No, I would probably say I'm betting on at least 20 years since I've probably watched this.
Yeah, because they were on Hulu for a little while, and I tried to kind of watch this first episode and didn't really make it past the intro music, which I liked, and then kind of
the intro music is the best. I don't think anybody can doubt that. The theme for the X-Men is fantastic.
So I haven't revisited it much in a very long time other than just the music. And I don't know that I've ever seen anything past season 1, but it is different than I remember. And some of the different stuff is funny, and some of the stuff I don't know why I remembered it the way I did. Like I had very clear memories of Wolverine having an Australian accent in this show.
Well, that I know where that comes from is that there was the pilot that they made, like I want to say in the late 80s, where for some reason they made him Australian.
And I guess I thought that was this, but I had that like stuck in my head of an Australian accent on Wolverine, which wasn't there.
No, but I mean that one pilot that they made, which we all watched. Like that's the other part to it, was that you could get it at like, you know, like Blockbuster or whatever your video store was.
Well, I'm glad that you helped me figure out why I had that confusion, because I thought I was just like starting to have false memories implanted into my head or something.
Well, maybe you still do, but not because of this.
When I was abducted by the aliens, they were just like, we're going to change your whole world, buddy.
And out of curiosity, I looked at some of the voice cast here, and the voice of Wolverine also was the voice of Slappy from the Goosebumps television show.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, talk about a double threat right there. Slappy and Wolverine, that guy's set for life.
A little bit of range.
Did he do the Slappy voice for the movie then?
Oh, no, they stepped up their game for that, I imagine.
I think the voice of is that the ventriloquist doll?
Yeah, and you have to ask who Slappy is.
I'm just trying to make sure that I remember correctly. In the first movie, it's voiced by Jack Black. In the second movie, not so much.
Oh, well, and a couple of other little funny things. Like, I didn't remember just how much you could have belly laughs watching this if you wanted to. But, like, in the opening, they show, like, news footage of Sabretooth just tearing up a bunch of cars. And then you hear the news lady saying, people are speculating that the man responsible may be a mutant. And I'm just like laughing. This guy is covered with hair. He's got fangs. He's tearing cars apart with the claws on his hands. And they're speculating he might be a mutant.
He's 7 foot tall. He's got all kinds of, facial hair and like fangs coming out and everything. And it's just like, we think this guy might not be normal.
He might be a carny.
I so want to live in this world of naivete that we have on the X-Men animated show. And like I said in the intro, the fact that Sentinels keep sneaking up on people. Like at one point, the Sentinel is hiding with his back against the wall around the corner. Like he's hiding in the shadows. And the guy's 50 feet tall at least, right?
Just think the Bumblebee in that first Transformers movie where he's just trying to hide behind stuff, but nothing's really working. And they do that in this thing. It's just like, oh, no, he's just hiding behind a tree.
It like goes into the mall. We are here to serve and protect. And every footstep just like cracks the foundation of the whole building.
And yet on the lawns, no big deal.
And also, despite all this destruction, people are still against the mutants and on the side of the Sentinels. I think it's great.
These guys are here to clean it up. Sure, they're, doing, untold amounts of property damage, but yeah, their just goal is, it's fine.
Can we talk about the worst voiceover talent?
I want to hear the worst.
In all of cartoons is the woman who does Storm.
Now,
oh, come on. I'm going to sit here and tell you.
She is the worst.
Now, some people agreed with you, Sean, because the person who does the voice of Storm in episode 1 is not the person who continues to do the voice of Storm.
Well, okay.
She gets recast pretty quickly, but because people agreed with you that she was not very good.
Man.
What'd you think about Rogue?
I think that I mean, I know what they're doing. Like, I know what they're doing. They've got to get, they got to get their personalities in, I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah.
So, she's like super genteel Southern. I get it. And then
no subtlety at all with her.
No, I mean, there's no such thing as subtlety on the show, which is, I mean, I get it. It's a show for children.
I like painting with the broad strokes.
and even with that, you may be shocked to hear this, but that is not an authentic Southern accent. That's a Canadian voice actor.
What? Are you trying to tell me that everybody who was involved with the show is from Montreal?
Sugar. Oh, I love the way she said sugar a lot. They had to work it in, They even made up some Southern phrases there. But the person who did the voice of Rogue, according to what I read, is now a member of Canadian Parliament. So she's done well for herself post X-Men.
She's the Canadian female Sonny Bono.
I really don't have a whole lot to add. I have such vitriol and hatred for this thing. Like, I can't, I don't have a ton to add to it. Like, you know, it looks like they made it for $11. They've got terrible voiceover actors on this. This is the reason why I have a problem with a lot of voiceover people. This is the exact reason why. It's crap like this, where it's like, you know, voiceover work is acting. Oh, is it? Because let me show you Exhibit A, which is episode 1, year 1 of the X-Men cartoon.
Now, you have to confess that the actor playing Beast really did sound intelligent.
I love the Beast character.
He did enunciate quite well.
They totally cast that guy just because they envisioned a scene in which Beast has to be in a courtroom that came up later this season, and he was cast just so that they could shoehorn him into that courtroom scene and then have him go away.
I love the fact that Beast reminds me of my Uncle Jim. In his
like every incarnation, or just this one?
Specifically, really this one. Because my uncle, I love him to death, but he is a know-it-all, just like Beast. He will give you these random quotes about nothing, and just like he'll litter the day with information that no one needs, wants, or asked for, and yet it is presented to you at every turn. And Beast is that way, and I don't know why, but I'm just like, oh, that's Uncle Jim right there. Just give it.
Is he also blue and hairy?
He's not blue. He's got
more like the original incarnation of Beast.
Yeah, the hair has left the top of the mountain.
Gigantic hands and feet.
That's true.
It's migrated. Now, can I tell you it's either the worst or the best voice acting performance, depending on what kind of joy you're looking to take from this cartoon, in my opinion.
What was that?
There's one that sticks out to me, and I watched it twice, the whole scene. It's when Wolverine goes into the bar where the guys are playing pool, and there's a character who looks tough and rough, but he sounds like Paul Lynde doing an impersonation of Jack Nicholson. You know who I'm talking about?
Yes. I was just sitting there. I'm just like, somebody just watched Easy Rider before they came into to the sound booth here for this recording.
It's like, okay, we can't afford Nicholson, but we can get Paul Lynde, and he does a great Jack Nicholson, so we're going to let him be the voice of this tough guy. It's great. It's probably like, I'm the kind of guy who can get some joy out of so good it's bad on occasion. And that whole scene where Wolverine is in the pool hall and then Cyclops comes in and the little bit of fighting breaks out, I can watch that one on repeat. And then when they leave, there's the truck with the gigantic tires parked out in the parking lot. Like, those little details mean so much to me.
Paul Lynde, you know what my favorite Paul Lynde joke is? Have I told you guys this?
Mm-hmm.
I watched a supercut of Hollywood Squares on YouTube one time. I fell down a YouTube hole, and the question was, you know, when a man falls overboard on a ship, you're supposed to shout out "man overboard." What do you shout out when a woman falls overboard? Paul Lynde's response was, "Keep going."
That's a pretty good Paul Lynde.
I've been working at it for years.
Can you do a little bit of the guy in the pool hall for us?
That girl seems real nice, but she's a real see you next Tuesday.
Oh man, I have to be.
I'd like you to take the bread and put it in between your knees. Doing the Jack Nicholson.
Oh, 5 easy pieces there. Nice call there, Adam.
I'm a Rafelson guy.
Kind of amazing at how little goes on in 40 minutes, but it doesn't really feel slow to me.
Oh my God, you're kidding me. How the hell? What the hell were you watching?
I was watching giant robots sneak up on people while Sabretooth
this thing was molasses.
Sabretooth tears up cars. Like the show starts off, and I think, oh, cool, we're going to see a nice Wolverine fighting Sabretooth moment. No, Sabretooth, for all I know, he's still at that intersection like 4 episodes in. Nobody just to get him out.
He's looking around going, aren't cops or somebody supposed to show up and stop me, or am I just going to get allowed to go nuts?
I do like it when the lady tells the beat cop to, look, there's a sentinel coming. He says, what do you want me to do? Arrest him?
I did like that. That'd be the kind of cop I'd be. I'd just be like, look, that lady, what am I going to do? I can't put cuffs on him. He's a big giant robot. Leave him alone.
I'm a traffic cop.
What you got there is a 172. I don't go above a 46.
No, thank you. First
we
of all,
do very good Adam impressions.
Thank you.
Including Adam.
Thank you. I will say this, though. I don't know why Jubilee wants to leave, man. Her foster parents got like a really awesome. That TV's giant for that time, boy. She's got the biggest TV in the house. Sure, she ruined the VCR by touching it, but you know.
Yeah. Who wants to what good's a TV if you have to watch network, you know?
Back then there were only like, 6 channels if you were lucky.
And also I don't think she necessarily wanted to leave until her foster parents kind of turned her over to the mutant equivalent of the SS, the whole tracking system.
That is a problem that I do have with the show itself, or at least the first episode for sure, is we show up in Act 2. This show doesn't have an Act 1. We're already in Act 2 where foster dad has turned her in, and for some reason she hears I don't know how they know she's a mutant. We don't really discover any of that. We don't talk about it. It's just kind of like, look, I know she's a mutant, and by God, I turned her in.
He knows because she blew up the VCR. I mean, that's one of your standard.
So it's just on account of the VCR. And so you blow up one VCR and it's off to the mutant gulag with you? That's not good.
Well, see, Adam, you don't have children. Sean understands this. Children never break anything unless they're mutant.
That's true.
It's true.
Yeah, man, I never thought about it that way.
I guess you got to be a father to understand.
I like it that Adam thinks this should have been the second episode, not the first. He wanted the whole 21 minutes of Jubilee trying to fit in with her foster parents, and it just.
I do have to say that I was very appreciative that we didn't start off with, like we're not going from first base where it's like, what is a mutant?
And they do enough exposition in this that it's just fine. It doesn't feel like it's that super, super overbearing kind of thing where you're right. It didn't start out with like over millions of years, humans have evolved and mutants.
Right. Like the way that the first movie starts.
Yeah, but we all can be forgiven when you got Patrick Stewart doing the VO, you know what I mean?
It's also amazing to me, like in this first episode, we have like big time X-Men villains that you have to listen close to realize who they are. Like Trask just kind of gets mentioned a couple of times and he seems pretty irrelevant. I think Senator Kelly is in one of these first 2 episodes. Mm-hmm. And talk about another sweet voice actress, the Madam President voice actress. I'd love to have that lady just do like my answering machine message.
That's when you know that this show is crazy. We got Wolverines, we got Beasts, and we got a lady president. What kind of science fiction program is this?
That's the way she talked, like there are at least 4 cotton balls shoved up each nostril.
Not my president.
That's how you know she's, important and has all the information and stuff. She's very, very smart. All the information is just clogging up her head, so she sounds weird.
I like that, this is an animated show. They wanted to give it that grounded feeling, so you think you're watching live action because they had her on the Stairmaster when she was meeting with the senator or whatever.
Bruce, we call that business. Gotta give them a little something to do just so we bring a little bit of action to the scene when normally there's none. And you know what? I applaud them for that.
Tells us she's so busy she can't go to the gym. They have to bring the gym to her.
That's when you know you've made it, when you've got workout equipment in your big, giant, window office.
In the Oval Office, nonetheless. What'd you think? Anything else to chew want to say, Adam? Anything positive here? Because we know that Sean doesn't like this, but I think a lot of people love this. We gotta give a little bit of love too.
Look, here's the thing. It's silly. It is overwrought, but I do enjoy the idea of Storm and Rogue going shopping together. And I like how when there's a big giant explosion and people are running and screaming, it is terroristic style, level of panic. And their idea is, hey, it looks like I think there's a sale going on. Oh, Marshall's has got like 25% off and people are going nuts. Is that what you think is going on here? So maybe Rogue and Storm need a little spidey sense to kind of heighten up what's going on.
I don't know what kind of weekend Storm and Rogue have planned, but they were shopping at Elizabeth's Secret.
Elizabeth. I didn't catch that.
And then there was the Calvin Cologne was the cologne brand, if you were paying attention.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so Calvin Cologne, they had some good fake brands here.
I like the idea that that they just go out to the mall and they're searching for clothes. They're looking for something nice, and then correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't know. I'm not sure. Storm's not on the high list of favorite characters for me and everything. Can she normally just kind of wave her hands and boom, new clothes?
I don't think so. I don't know what kind of weather pattern brings clothing.
It seemed a little strange.
Ice clothes.
Oh, you know what? They're silver. It makes sense.
I was thinking maybe she just has very good gusts of wind that go to like local clotheslines and pull the right components to her.
Hold on, I'm going to Joann's Fabrics to pick up some stuff for your costume. That's the voice of the the gust of wind she's produced.
And I kind of wonder why she feels the need to put on her costume, but Rogue doesn't.
Yeah, Rogue's just like, look, I'm going to have to go into a changing room because I don't have magic weather powers to somehow change my clothes. So I guess I'll just fight in a dress.
She's a weather witch, and all I do is touch people.
Yeah, very, very difficult powers to convey on screen in Saturday morning animation. Something else I really liked, and I got a question for you. If this like sticks out to you, this is something I see on TV and never in real life. But when Cyclops goes back to the foster parents' house to talk to him, and the dad brings out 3 glasses of soda, it's on a serving tray. Now, have you guys ever been to like a private residence where drinks were brought to you on a serving tray?
Fairly irregularly.
Yeah, I can't say that I have. That's a very excellent point, sir.
If I have, I certainly don't. It didn't stick up. It didn't stick out enough for me to remember, and I feel like something like that would stick out.
And I feel pretty confident saying I don't think there's a serving tray in my house. So if you come here and you need 3 sodas, it's going to take 2 trips because I can only bring 2 sodas at a time. I have no serving tray.
I like to think you're just putting them on plates. Just put on.
Next time I'm at your house, if I'm not getting served soda on a serving tray, you're going to hear about it, mister.
I feel like that's something they did a lot on like Bewitched. I feel like anytime somebody got beverages in Bewitched, there happened to be a serving tray, but by 92, I think you're just drinking straight out of the can, right? You don't even pour it in a glass anymore.
We have gone down the uncivilized path to where we're just drinking out of cans like a bunch of stupid slobs. That's me opening a can.
Also, yeah.
Is that the gavel?
Shut up.
That is the gavel being opened.
I got to drink some of this gavel. Hold on. That's good gavel. This show, I can't believe I let Bruce pick out the episode. I should have really looked and seen something because he did pick the pilot, which is clearly one of the weaker
thing
ones.
that Bruce does, because this let's all come clean here. Bruce has a problem.
He does.
I don't know why I was so surprised when I looked it up on Disney Plus and was like, "Oh, it's episode 1 and 2." Of course it is.
I was just like, "Oh, it sounds like he's kind of like perused through the archives here and found something that's very relatable back to." Oh, nope,
clearly not the case.
Maybe not.
It's a 2-parter. The first 2-parter I found.
The first 2-parter I found turns out it was just at the top of the queue. Oh well, I guess these are the ones we're using.
Well, I think every season starts off with a 2-parter, so next time we can go straight to season 2.
Hey, Liz.
Boy, you guys are going to have an awesome guest host for the next time.
I would have figured he would have done at least Inner Magneto so he could have, like, his whole Magneto conversation that he has every time. But nevertheless...
That's episode 3. That's the one right after what we watched.
Oh, so then that is the one that will be the next one.
Exactly.
This one also kind of counts as a movie because now I don't remember this, but I read that Pizza Hut sold VHS tapes of episode 1 and 2 as if it was a movie. And then at the end, it had like bonus footage of Stan Lee talking about the X-Men or something.
That sounds exactly like something Pizza Hut would do. I don't remember specifically, but I feel that sounds super right to me. And I do remember these coming out on VHS tapes and stuff that you could rent at Blockbuster and things of that nature.
Was there a time people went to Pizza Hut to buy movies? Like, did I totally miss something?
Listen, man, over the years, Pizza Hut has done a lot of crazy crap when you really sit back and think about it. As far as like from a advertising and business and everything, Pizza Hut's kind of insane. They've done everything.
When you have the worst pizza ever made, you've got to do stuff.
Oh, they're worse than Pizza Hut, I'll tell you that. But they had the Book It program where kids would read books and get like a free personal pan pizza. On the other side, they also had Mr. Bill come in as a spokesman for a hot second. That was weird. We had the Bigfoot pizza. There's just they've done so many things over the years where every time you turn around, Pizza Hut's doing some more crazy crap, and you're just like, well, I guess that's fine. So why not sell some VHS tapes? They sold Back to the Future 2 glasses, for heaven's sake. Why not some some X-Men merch as well?
I like the person that goes in and buys a movie but not a pizza. Did Pizza Hut deliver? I don't really remember. I'm pretty sure my town was a small enough town they did not deliver. But in most places, did Pizza Hut deliver?
Pizza Hut, to my knowledge, didn't really start at least advertising bigly that they delivered until probably mid '90s or so. The Pizza Hut that in the town I grew up with, they never delivered. They were just like, "You are coming here." No.
Yeah, that's how mine was. But I love the idea that I could have picked up the phone and called and had him deliver me the X-Men.
It was. Those were the good days, though, because
VHS tape, please.
you'd have to go into the Pizza Hut there, and you'd have to because the Pizza Hut was always the raging joint because we were a small little town, and everyone would come in there. So you'd meet people that that were at Pizza Hut waiting for their pizza, or you'd sit down and just be almost forced to have conversations with weird strangers who were also waiting for their pizza. I had a guy do the little Vulcan nerve pinch on me. He was just like, "Hey, I can take you down with 2 fingers." And for some reason, my dad's like, "Have at it." And the guy got me at the little nerve right there by your neck, and it was like, ah! He's just like, we got you. That's back in the day when you could just assault other people's kids and no one gave a crap.
I'd like a video that's the same quality as the food you're serving, please.
Well, we do happen to have the first 2 episodes of the X-Men show as a full-length movie. Don't worry, we've got Stan Lee at the end to cushion the blow.
I like the idea that they were really pushing this, too. Like, they had posters up on the window and stuff. Or do you think it was a deal where you couldn't just buy the movie? Like, the movie came free with 2 extra-large pizzas or something.
Oh, I hate when they do things like that, where it's like, oh, you got to buy our promotional crap in order to get this. It's like, can I just pay you $5 and you give me that thing?
$5, man. This was probably $12.99 at Pizza Hut back then.
No, if it worked the way that Burger King did, because around the same time, if you went to Burger King, you could get a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles video.
Oh yeah,
and it was something ridiculous like $5.99 if you bought lunch there or something. And so that's what I hate Burger King also. I hate everything tonight, but I hate Burger King also. And I was like, I guess I'll get a Whopper.
Carl's Jr., you can chug it.
I like the idea that there's somebody that they said, if you get the extra large pizza, you can get this X-Men VHS tape for $5.99, and they offered him $10 if they keep the tape.
It's just like, look, we got to move these X-Men tapes here. You take this Bigfoot pizza and get the hell out.
The Bigfoot pizza was good in my memory. It's been a while.
No, it was not. The Bigfoot pizza was awful.
Was it a big rectangle-shaped pizza?
Yeah, that was a big rectangle one. They also did something later on where they were like, okay, what if we just got this really big giant box and stuck a lot of crap in it? Okay, check it out. We got pizza over here. We got breadsticks over here. We've got wings over here. They just put 18 things in a box and just oh yeah, go deliver this to somebody's house. It was the worst nightmare ever.
Oh, man. Any other Pizza Hut talk?
Just don't. I worked at a Pizza Hut, and for God's sake, I don't care if it's Pizza Hut, Domino's, wherever you've got, whoever comes to your house to give you food, for the love of all that is holy, tip them. If you're not tipping at least $5, you're a piece of garbage. At least $5, something for them to go out there, for heaven's sake. Especially if you got I've got so many stories about delivery driver stories and stuff like that. Ones where I thought I was almost going to die. And, whenever someone, drops you a $5, it certainly makes up for all of those harrowing moments that you have to deal with as a delivery driver. For heaven's sake, please tip those people.
What'd you think of the Danger Room, man? The Danger Room's always a mainstay in X-Men cartoons.
I love how there's a piston program, which apparently is just 2 big giant pistons smacking up against each other, and you better get out of it.
And that's been in multiple incarnations of X-Men cartoons. The piston is always there. I like it that the Danger Room is legitimately dangerous. I picture a lot of students who we never get to know because they die on their first day, bite the dust in the Danger Room.
No. It's the Danger Room because OSHA doesn't come around here. They have no jurisdiction here. So we just kind of let them do what they do.
I'm sure they don't put that in the front page of the brochure.
Oh, that's buried deep in the back in one of those little, you know how they have the little asterisks and then they have like the little cross? That's in the double cross.
Now, and also just for completeness sake, there are multiple incarnations of animated X-Men series. So have you guys seen any of the latter stuff, any of the stuff that came after 92?
No, because especially by the time that this one was this series was finished, I was definitely, I don't want to say I was too old to be watching it because I still watch crap. I'll be honest with you, but it had fallen off enough to where I was just like, all right, I'm good with the X-Men, and anything else that you'd kind of like, you know, dipped your toes in a little bit and go, okay, let's check this thing out. I was like, it ain't what I know, and you have that weird sort of familiarity about something that you want to have what you know, and if it's not what you know, you just don't care.
There was, I know there was X-Men Evolution where everybody was like in high school all of a sudden or something weird like that. That one doesn't interest me much, but the one I'm curious about, and it's on Disney Plus now, so maybe I'll check it out, but Wolverine and the X-Men, to the best of my knowledge, that's the only X-Men property that has had the guiding hand of Kevin Feige. So Kevin Feige was like the executive producer and also very hands-on, from what I understand, on that particular animated show, X-Men and or the Wolverine and the X-Men.
You know,
so that's I may go revisit.
You talk a big game here, Brucey, but do you know who was a producer of this show? One Avi Arad. Huh?
Of course, it's obvious now, but it is kind of weird. Like I really like Super Friends. I like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends because that was at a time when animation just didn't know better. And like if this show had come out like in 84, I think we look at it a whole lot different. But it comes out, you know, the same time as Batman, the animated series, and Gargoyles, a show that a lot of people like that maybe doesn't get talked about much.
I was in 8th grade. I loved Gargoyles a whole bunch, and it's actually trending on. It was trending on Twitter for a hot second there, and the creator of Gargoyles is like, "Hey, I'm going to try to take this and make hay with it, and do a see if somebody will bring back Gargoyles." And you know, they're working on it, I guess, or at least attempting to.
Yeah, this feels like a show that just hit the air a little too late. Because by 94, 95, animation has stepped up so much above this, you know, more typical Hanna-Barbera-esque, Super Friends-esque.
Oh, I think it's way better than those. I think you're wrong.
I'm talking about latter-day Super Friends, like the 1986 era, like those last seasons when it's the Superpowers, Power Hour or something like that, when they're bringing in a little bit higher quality. It looks about like this X-Men 92 in my memory. Maybe I'll have to go check it out on the DC streaming app and see if I'm wrong on that.
Or we can pick things other than a pilot. Anywho, let's get to one of the most important parts of any program that anyone could ever have, ever. And if you thought he hated this episode so far, I can't imagine how much he hated having to figure out how X-Men the Animated Series relates back one-to-one with Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, you aren't wrong. It's part of the reasons why I hate this so much. Anyway, thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Aww.
Shannon Denton was one of 2 production designers on X-Men the Animated Series. Shannon Denton is a dude that worked on a few different cartoons, and one of those cartoons happens to be Casper Meets Wendy, which boasts the talents of Shelley Duvall, Terry Garr, and George Hamilton, which would have been a big deal if this was made in 1979, but unfortunately for the makers of this movie, it was made in 1998.
Oh, boy.
And the only people who would have made a big deal about them in this movie are folks in their immediate family. Shannon Denton's also worked on a few non-cartoons like Community, The United States of Terra, and Las Vegas, which had a guest star named Sylvester Stallone. I would very much like to thank Shannon Denton for his work on Las Vegas, because without him, I'd have to have gone with Stan Lee, which is a cop-out and something only quitters would resort to. And as my 30-year-old addiction to cigarettes will tell you, I'm no quitter. And there you have it, peeps. Your Stallone connection this week is none other than Shannon Denton. You're welcome. I'm Sean Kovacs. You're welcome.
I imagine you very much like you remember that bit in, I forget which Ernest film it is. It's just like when I was a kid, I never knew the word quit. Just ask my 3rd grade teacher. He never knew when to quit. And he's like screeching his fingernails on a chalkboard, and without even looking, she backhands him in the head. He hits his head in the thing. It's so good. It's so good. Well, here at Hero Movie Podcast, we have our own patented Robin rating system. If you'd like to check that out and hit up all the coolest of superhero memes, check us out at facebook.com/Hero Movie Podcast. The Robin rating system is right there at the top of the screen. Bruce, where do the first 2 episodes of X-Men, the animated series from 1992, fall on the Robin rating system for you?
For nostalgic purposes and to keep a few of the fans continuing to listen to this show, I'm going to say Damian Wayne, because I think it's going to go much lower with the other 2.
I'm going to go Damian Wayne as 2 because, honestly, this is for what we're working with here. It is kind of middle of. It's not great. It's very pilot level kind of stuff. And again, this may be the nostalgia cloud in the brain, and I'm 100% on board with admitting that that's what it could be. But I feel like later episodes were probably better. Maybe we'll do those at some point when Sean is off on his lunar trip to Mars or whatever the hell it is we do when he's gone. So yeah, Damian Wayne for me, right there in the middle. Certainly not the highest of heights to start with this program. Sean.
Look, I understand that there is a nostalgia factor for a lot of people with this show. But I am not one of those people. This is a Jason Todd. This show sucks. It's poorly made. It's poorly done. It is a Jason Todd. I get that you guys grew up with this. I'm not looking down on you for liking this. I liked a lot of terrible crap when I was a kid, too. Have you seen the original Voltron? It sucks. So does this. It is a Jason Todd.
Sean Kovacs' tombstone will say, "It sucks. Get over it."
Well, I mean, look, man. Like,
no, I get it.
But I'm not going to pretend that I like this. I hate it.
No, and I don't.
Awful.
I don't think I wouldn't want you to either. I wouldn't. I want everyone to like everything. I mean, we would all like to like stuff, right? No one wants to hate things.
And I sure would.
Yeah.
But boy, do I understand it. I watch this and I go like, oh boy, this is gonna be a Sean bad boy right here. This is no good. But it happens. Everybody, don't worry. Next week here on Hero Movie Podcast, I don't remember what we're doing, so let me pull up my thing here. Oh yes.
And 2.
Yes,
yeah, it's Darkman 2. Die, Darkman, die.
Die, Darkman, die. That's on HBO still, right? Is that where we initially?
It was last time we looked.
Last time when we put it in the schedule, Darkman was on HBO Go or Now or whichever. So hopefully it's still there
We'll find
again.
it somewhere.
If not, we'll figure something out. But Darkman 2, a couple years ago we did the first Darkman. So if you want to prep for Darkman 2, go back through the old HMP archives there and check out the first Darkman. The second's got to be at least twice as good as the first, right? Isn't that how these things work?
Probably better than that.
You're probably right. I'm not. I'm just overthinking it.
You can't go wrong with Liam Neeson, so I'm sure it'll be good.
Oh, it's going to be perfectly fine. We all love that guy. I mean, Oscar. Come on, mwah, beautiful. So we'll be doing that next week. In the meantime, Bruce, where could we find more of your work on the internet?
Go check out Chubby Wizard. I did a little solo episode of Chubby Wizard because Chris was unavailable and talked about some memorable comic book moments from the decade. So go check that one out.
Do you guys remember page 4, issue 3 of... That was the best page ever. Sean?
We do a show called The Redford Administration. It's a good show. You guys should check it out. If you're watching Watchmen, you should totally check out that podcast.
It's a good time, everybody. And if you're not watching the Watchmen show, you definitely should. It's probably one of the best things on television right now. So do check that out.
I think it is the best. In my not so humble opinion, I think it is the best thing on TV right now.
Yeah.
It's bold boast when there's no X-Men 92 to compete with.
Oh man, how would I choose? It's a Sophie's choice.
You take it out of the frame and there's nothing you can do about it. You're just like, good. He makes the best points. So yes, please check out Redford Administration and also check out Mandalorian 30 Questions. We are zooming through that boy, and it is also thanks to you the Patreon members, the HMPers and everything, everybody that's gone over from this show and listened to Mandalorian 30 Questions. You guys are getting us high up in the rankings there and everything with your reviews and all that kind of good stuff. So we want to thank everybody. And if you haven't checked that out, check it out. Mandalorian 30 Questions. You heard the pilot the other day. come back and listen to the other episodes, man. We'd really appreciate that. That's it, everybody. Join us next week when we're talking Dark Man 2 from the sad Chauncey Kovacs side of the internet and Bruce Leslie. My name is Adam Portrais. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.